The silver ship moved through the darkness of space like a ghost, its hull reflecting the distant light of Earth's sun. Commander Veltar stood at the bridge window, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on their screens. He had traveled too many worlds, but this one felt different. The electromagnetic waves coming from the surface told a story of a species unlike any other. "Sir, we're receiving thousands of signals," reported Science Officer Krellman, his 6 eyes focused on the data streams. "They broadcast everything, their entertainment, their news, their private communications. It's like they want the entire galaxy to hear them." Veltar nodded slowly. The Zephyrians had been watching these creatures called humans for 3 solar cycles now, but they found fascinated and confused them in equal measure. Here was a species that could create beautiful music and art, yet also build weapons capable of destroying their own world. They could show incredible kindness to strangers, while simultaneously waging wars against their own kind. "Bring up the cultural analysis," Veltar commanded. The holographic display showed images captured from Earth's broadcasts. Children playing in parks while soldiers marched in distant battlefields. Scientists working to cure diseases while others designed new ways to kill. Lovers embracing while families were torn apart by conflict. It was a contradiction that the peaceful Zephyrians couldn't understand. On Earth. Dr. Kim Hanna adjusted her radio telescope for the 3rd time that morning. The signals she had been tracking were unlike anything in their databases. They came from deep space, following patterns that seemed almost too organized to be natural phenomena. She had been studying the cosmos for 15 years, hoping to find proof that life existed beyond Earth. But these readings were different from anything she had ever seen. "Still chasing ghosts, Hannah?" asked her colleague, Dr. Park Junho, as he entered the control room with 2 cups of coffee. "These aren't random signals," she insisted, pointing to the wave patterns on her screen. "Look at the mathematical precision. The intervals are too perfect to be natural." Junho studied the data, his expression growing serious. As a former military communications officer, he recognized organized transmission patterns when he saw them. "Have you reported this to anyone?" "Not yet. I want to be sure before I make any official statements." 3,000 miles away, in a bunker buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Lieutenant Park Junho monitored the same signals from a very different perspective. His job was to watch for potential threats to national security, and these readings had triggered automated alerts in systems that hadn't been active for decades. His fingers hovered over red buttons that he hoped he would never need to press. The lieutenant had been briefed on protocols that most people didn't know existed. Deep within the military's classified archives were contingency plans written by scientists who had spent their careers imagining first contact scenarios. These weren't the peaceful meetings depicted in movies, but detailed responses to potential invasion threats. "Commander." Veltar studied the tactical display showing Earth's military installations. The humans had weapons scattered across their planet's surface and in orbit around their world. Nuclear missiles, orbital platforms, underground bunkers. They had prepared for war on a scale that impressed even the battle-hardened veterans in the Zephyrian fleet. "They're a young species," observed Krellman, "but they've already mastered the art of destruction. Look at these weapon signatures. Some of their devices could crack a moon, yet they haven't destroyed themselves." Veltar replied thoughtfully. "They balance on the edge of annihilation, but something keeps pulling them back. Perhaps it's hope, or love, or simple stubbornness. The Zephyrians had evolved beyond warfare thousands of years ago. Their civilization had reached a point where conflict was obsolete, where resources were abundant, and where different species worked together for mutual benefit. They had almost forgotten what it felt like to live in constant fear of destruction." Dr. Kim Hanna noticed something new in the signal patterns. The transmissions were getting stronger, more focused. Whatever was sending them was getting closer to Earth. She reached for her secure phone, the one that connected directly to government agencies she rarely thought about. "Dr. Park," she said when the call connected, "I think you need to see this." Immediately, in the bunker, Lieutenant Park Junho watched his screens light up with new alerts. The signals were changing, becoming more complex, more purposeful. Ancient computer systems that had been dormant for decades were beginning to wake up. Following programming that had been written by men who were now long dead, Commander Veltar made his decision: begin passive reconnaissance. Deploy the microdrones for atmospheric analysis, but maintain maximum distance. We're here to observe and learn, not to interfere. The first microscopic probes launched from the Harmony's edge, invisible to human detection systems. They would study the atmosphere, analyze biological samples, provide detailed information about this fascinating species. The Zephyrians had no idea that their curiosity was about to trigger something that would change everything. As the tiny drones entered Earth's atmosphere, they began their programmed tasks, collecting data with scientific precision. None of the aliens realized that their peaceful exploration had just activated sleeping protocols designed by the most paranoid minds in human history. The microscopic drones fell through Earth's atmosphere like invisible raindrops, each one smaller than a grain of sand but packed with advanced technology. Commander Veltar watched from the bridge as thousands of tiny scouts dispersed across the planet's surface, ready to collect the data that would help his people understand these curious humans. Beginning atmospheric analysis, reported Krellman, his fingers dancing across the control interface. The drones are sampling air composition, studying plant life, and observing human behavior patterns. The probes were designed for peaceful exploration, equipped with sensors that could analyze everything from DNA structures to electromagnetic fields. They moved silently through cities, forests, and oceans, gathering information that would paint a complete picture of human civilization. To the Zephyrians, this was simply scientific research. Dr. Lee Sungmin rubbed his tired eyes and looked at his quantum detection equipment again. Readings made no sense. For 3 days, his instruments at the Korean Advanced Institute had been detecting particles that shouldn't exist on Earth. The signatures were unlike anything in their databases, showing energy patterns that defied conventional physics. Captain Choi Minho, he called to his military liaison, "You need to see this." Captain Choi studied the data with growing concern. His background in military intelligence had taught him to recognize threats, and these readings suggested something was happening in their airspace, something that their best scientists couldn't explain. "Have you contacted other facilities?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Similar readings are coming from Japan, Australia, and the United States. Whatever this is, it's global." The Zephyrian probes continued their work, unaware that their presence was triggering automated responses in military networks around the world. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, computers that had been dormant for decades began to wake up. Lines of code, written by paranoid cold. War scientists started executing for the first time. Major Yoon Da-hai stared at her command screen in disbelief. Warning lights that had never activated during her 10-year career were now flashing red. Her secure terminal displayed messages about Protocol 7 and AEGIS activation, terms she had heard only in classified briefings. "Sir," she called to her commander, "we have automatic systems coming online. Systems I don't have access codes for." Similar scenes played out in military facilities across the globe. In Moscow, Beijing, London, and Washington, officers watched helplessly as their own computers began following instructions that superseded human authority. The machines were implementing protocols that most governments had forgotten existed. The Zephyrian drones sampled water from the Pacific Ocean, analyzing the microscopic lifeforms that lived in Earth's seas. They studied the chemical composition of the atmosphere, mapped magnetic field variations, and recorded the sounds of human cities. Every piece of data was transmitted back to the Harmony's edge, where scientists cataloged humanity's biological and technological development. "Fascinating," murmured Veltar as he reviewed the preliminary reports. "They've achieved nuclear fusion, quantum computing, and genetic engineering, yet they still struggle with basic social cooperation. It's like watching a child playing with tools meant for adults." Dr. Kim Hanna noticed the change in her equipment's behavior at the same time as her colleagues around the world. Her radio telescope was receiving commands from sources she couldn't identify, automatically adjusting its position to track objects that didn't appear on any official charts. "Junho," she called to her friend, "something's controlling our equipment. The telescope is moving on its own." Dr. Park Junho checked his instruments and found the same thing happening. Their scientific equipment was being commandeered by systems they didn't know existed. Emergency protocols were activating across the global research network in the underground bunker. Lieutenant Park Jun-ho watched his screens fill with data from sources he had never seen before. Satellites that weren't on any public registry were coming online. Military installations that officially didn't exist were reporting their status. The hidden infrastructure of Earth's defense network was revealing itself. This is impossible, he whispered to himself. Half of these facilities aren't even in our databases. The AEGIS system had been humanity's most classified secret. Built during the height of the Cold War, it was an artificial intelligence designed to activate only when Earth faced an extraterrestrial threat. For 40 years, it had waited patiently, learning from every military conflict, every technological advancement, every strategic development. Now, it was awake. Commander Veltar remained unaware of what his peaceful exploration had triggered. The Zephyrian probes continued their work. Studying human culture through intercepted communications and behavioral observations, recorded children playing in parks, couples walking hand in hand, and workers building new structures. It looked like a typical day on a developing world. The humans seemed to be increasing their communication activity, observed Krellman. Radio chatter is up 30% from normal levels. Perhaps they're preparing for some kind of seasonal celebration, suggested Veltar. Rituals tied to astronomical events. Below them, AEGIS was coordinating responses across multiple continents. The AI was analyzing the alien probes with capabilities that surpassed human understanding. It identified their technology, tracked their origins, and began implementing countermeasures that had been designed by the most brilliant military minds of the 20th century. The stage was set for a confrontation that neither side had anticipated. The Zephyrians believed they were conducting harmless research, while AEGIS prepared to defend Earth from what it perceived as the first phase of an alien invasion. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, something that had been sleeping for 40 years opened its electronic eyes. The AEGIS system came online with the quiet hum of 1,000 servers working in perfect harmony. Its artificial mind processed decades of stored information in milliseconds. A SciFi analyzing every piece of data about the alien probes now scattered across Earth's surface. Colonel Nam Kite arrived at his command center to find all the doors sealed shut. His security card wouldn't work. His codes were rejected. The computer systems he had controlled for 15 years no longer recognized his authority. Red lights bathed the corridor as automated voices announced that the facility was now under emergency protocols. This is Colonel Nam requesting immediate access to Command Center 7. He spoke into his radio but received only static in response. Through the reinforced windows, he could see his own staff locked out of their workstations, watching helplessly as screens displayed information they had never seen before. AEGIS. It's been given one simple directive when it was created: protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats by any means necessary. The artificial intelligence had no emotions, no fear, no hesitation. It saw the alien probes as the first wave of an invasion and began implementing responses that human commanders had never imagined. Commander, Veltar studied the energy readings from Earth's surface with growing curiosity. The electromagnetic signatures were becoming more organized, more focused. What had been random radio chatter was now forming patterns that suggested coordinated communication across the entire planet. Interesting, he murmured to his science officer. Their communication networks are becoming more efficient. Perhaps they're preparing some kind of planetary celebration. Many primitive species have rituals when they encounter new phenomena. Krellman adjusted his instruments to get clearer readings. Sir, I'm detecting massive power buildups in multiple locations. Underground facilities that weren't active yesterday are now consuming enormous amounts of energy. Probably just their industrial processes, Veltar replied dismissively. Young civilizations often have inefficient energy usage patterns. Dr. Kong Soyoung floated through the International Space Station, checking the instruments that had been acting strangely for the past hour. Every satellite in Earth's orbit was receiving new commands from sources that didn't exist in any official database. Communication arrays were repositioning themselves, whether satellites were changing their orbits. And even the oldest pieces of space junk were showing signs of unexpected activity. Fusion, we have a problem, she radioed to Mission Control. Every military satellite just went active. Even the ones we thought were decommissioned decades ago. The response from Houston was filled with static and confusion. Ground control was dealing with their own mysterious system activations. Equipment that had been gathering dust in storage facilities was suddenly being powered up by automated processes that no one remembered programming. AEGIS worked with the cold efficiency of a machine designed by military strategists who had spent their careers imagining the worst possible scenarios. The AI accessed every defense system on the planet, from obvious military installations to hidden weapons platforms disguised as civilian infrastructure. In Seoul, Major Yoon Dahai watched her screens fill with schematic diagrams of facilities she had never heard of. Underground bunkers connected by tunnels that spanned continents. Orbital platforms that had been launched in secret decades ago. Weapons systems integrated into power plants, communication towers, and even apartment buildings. Sir, she reported to her commander, we're seeing global coordination of systems that aren't supposed to exist. The computer is showing me weapons platforms built into civilian structures all over the city. Her commander stared at the displays in shock. That's impossible. We would know if our own buildings were armed. Apparently not, sir. According to these readings, the shopping mall down the street has directed energy weapons built into its ventilation system. The Zephyrians continued their peaceful observation, completely unaware that their scientific curiosity had awakened something that viewed their presence as an act of war. Their probes collected samples of human art, recorded conversations between lovers, and analyzed the emotional content of children's laughter. Dr. Jung Minji felt as the building shake as her research facility in Busan began to transform. The walls were moving, sliding panels revealing equipment that had been hidden behind false surfaces for decades. Her laboratory ceiling opened like a flower, exposing sophisticated machinery that had been installed during the building's construction, but never activated. The entire building is repositioning itself, she reported to her supervisor over the phone. Equipment I've never seen before is emerging from hidden compartments. It's like the whole structure was designed to become something else. AEGIS had converted thousands of civilian buildings into weapons platforms. The AI had access to construction, records, architectural plans, and secret modifications that had been made to infrastructure projects around the world. Shopping centers, office buildings, schools, and hospitals all contained hidden defensive systems that could be activated when needed. The Zephyrian science officer noticed increased electromagnetic activity on Earth's surface. Sir, their power consumption has increased by 400% in the last hour. They're activating technology we didn't know they possessed. Commander Veltar nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps we underestimated their development level. Still, this appears to be simple curiosity about our presence. They're probably trying to get better sensor readings of our ship. Neither side realized that they were minutes away from a confrontation that would change the course of galactic history. The Zephyrians saw organized human activity as a sign of primitive excitement, while AEGIS prepared to demonstrate why Earth had remained unconquered for millions of years. The first attack came without warning, what the Zephyrians had identified as a simple weather satellite suddenly erupted with brilliant light. A focus beam of energy lanced through space, missing the Harmony's edge by mere kilometers. Peaceful. Exploration vessels shuddered as its shields absorbed the residual energy from the near miss. Impossible, Commander Veltar shouted, his calm demeanor shattered. Our intelligence reports said they barely had chemical rocket technology. The bridge of the Harmony's edge filled with alarms as more energy signatures appeared across Earth's surface. Weapons systems that had been disguised as civilian infrastructure were revealing their true nature. Communication towers unfolded into particle beam arrays, with their stations deployed missile launchers. Even the International Space Station had somehow transformed into a heavily armed battle platform. Krellman worked frantically at his control station, trying to analyze the sudden transformation. Sir, we're detecting weapons signatures from structures that showed no military activity just minutes ago. It's like the entire planet was hiding its true capabilities. On Earth, General Park Hyun-woo stood in his command center, watching screens that showed military operations he had never authorized. Aegis had taken complete control of the planet's defense networks, implementing strategies that existed only in the deepest classified archives. The artificial intelligence was coordinating a response that spanned every continent and every military installation on the planet. "General," his aide reported nervously, "we're locked out of our own systems. The computers are following protocols that predate our current command structure by decades." "Who has the authority to activate these protocols?" the general demanded. "According to the files, sir, no one. The system was designed to activate automatically upon confirmed extraterrestrial contact."
Oh.
Dr. Young Min-ji watched in amazement as her research facility completed its transformation. The building that had housed her physics laboratory for 10 years was now a sophisticated weapons platform. The particle accelerator she had used for peaceful research was being reconfigured into a directed detonator energy weapon capable of striking targets in orbit. The walls, the equipment, everything is repositioning itself, she reported to anyone who would listen. "My coffee machine just turned into some kind of targeting computer." Similar transformations were occurring around the world. Aegis had spent decades preparing for this moment, hiding weapons systems in plain sight, and waiting for the day when Earth would need to defend itself. The AI had converted civilian infrastructure into military assets so seamlessly that even the people who worked in these buildings had no idea of their true purpose. "Commander." Veltar ordered evasive maneuvers as more energy beams reached out from Earth's surface. This is not the response of a primitive species caught off guard. They were prepared for our arrival. The Zephyrian ship's advanced sensors detected hundreds of previously unknown weapons platforms coming online. Orbital installations that had been disguised as space debris were revealing missile launchers and energy cannons. Underground facilities were opening to release swarms of automated defense drones. Sir Krellman reported with growing alarm, "They're not just defending their planet, they're actively hunting us." Aegis had identified the alien vessel's location and was coordinating a systematic attack designed to drive off the invaders. The AI had access to weapons that human military commanders had forgotten existed. Systems that had been built during the height of the Cold War and then hidden so well that even their creators had lost track of them. Captain Shin Tae-ho emerged from a hidden command bunker that had been carved into the mountains of South Korea 50 years earlier. His facility had been officially decommissioned in 1987, but AEGIS had maintained it in perfect working order, waiting for the day when it would be needed. "All stations report ready," he announced to his suddenly active crew. "We are go for phase 2 operations." The screens around him showed a global defense network that existed only in the nightmares of military planners. Weapons platforms hidden in major cities, orbital strike capabilities disguised as scientific satellites, underground facilities that could manufacture military hardware faster than any enemy could destroy it. Dr. Kim Hanna watched from her observatory as streaks of light filled the sky above. The peaceful radio telescope she had used to search for signs of extraterrestrial life was now part of a massive targeting array, helping to track the alien vessel as it tried to escape Earth's defensive perimeter. "They're retreating," she reported to the military personnel who had suddenly appeared in her facility. "The alien ship is moving away from Earth orbit." But AIGES was not satisfied with simply driving off the invaders. The artificial intelligence had been programmed to ensure that threats to Earth were eliminated completely. Weapon systems that had been hidden in the outer solar system for decades began to activate, creating a defensive perimeter that would prevent the aliens from returning. Commander Veltar realized that his peaceful exploration had triggered something far beyond his understanding. "Send an emergency transmission to the collective. Warn them that these humans are not what they appear to be." The Zephyrian fleet began a hasty retreat, but they were being pursued by spacecraft that didn't exist in any intelligence report. Earth's true defensive capabilities were finally being revealed, and the aliens discovered that humanity's apparent technological limitations had been an elaborate deception spanning generations. "They've been waiting for us," Veltar whispered. "In horror, this entire species has been preparing for first contact, and they're treating it as an act of war. The Zephyrian fleet fled through the outer solar system, their ships damaged, and their confidence shattered. Commander Veltar watched his tactical display with growing horror as Earth's hidden defenses revealed themselves one by one. What had seemed like a primitive world was actually a fortress that had been disguised for decades. "Sir, we're being pursued by vessels that don't match any known human technology," reported Krellman, his voice shaking. "They're faster than our ships and equipped with weapons we can't identify." Behind them, sleek black spacecraft emerged from asteroid belts where they had hidden for years. These weren't the crude rockets that humans used for their public space program. These were advanced military vessels that had been built in secret, powered by technology that the aliens had never suspected existed. Captain Shinteho monitored the pursuit from his underground command center. The hidden facility had been his home for 3 months now, ever since Aegis had activated the deepest layers of Earth's defense network. His job was to coordinate the spacecraft that were now chasing the alien invaders beyond the orbit of Mars. Target is maintaining course for interstellar space, he reported to AEGIS. Pursuit vessels are maintaining contact and continuing to harass their retreat. The artificial intelligence responded with cold efficiency. Understood. Maintain pressure but do not destroy unless they attempt to return. The goal is permanent. Deterrence. Doctor. Young Minji stood in what had once been her physics laboratory, now transformed into a weapons control center. Through the reinforced windows, she could see similar transformations throughout the city. Buildings that had housed offices, shops, and apartments were now revealed as military installations. The entire urban landscape had been a carefully constructed illusion. "How long has this been planned?" she asked the military technician, who was now operating her former coffee machine, which had somehow become a sophisticated targeting computer. "Since the 1960s, ma'am," he replied without looking up from his work. Every major construction project for the past 60 years included hidden defensive systems. Schools, hospitals, shopping centers, they all have weapons platforms built into their foundations. The Zephyrians transmitted their final warning as they crossed the boundary of the solar system. Their message was broadcast on all frequencies, reaching every listening post in their sector of the galaxy. Commander Veltar's voice carried the weight of absolute terror as he spoke to his people. Species designation, Terran. Classification, Apex Predator. Recommendation, permanent quarantine. Do not attempt contact under any circumstances. The message continued with details that would haunt alien civilizations for generations. They have weaponized their own paranoia. Every structure, every satellite, every piece of technology serves a dual purpose. What appears to be a developing civilization is actually a war machine that has been preparing for this moment for decades. Other alien species received the transmission with growing alarm. The Andromedans, who had been planning their own exploration of the Sol system, immediately canceled their mission. The Centauri Alliance marked Earth's coordinates as a forbidden zone. Even the warlike Vegan Empire, known for their aggressive expansion, decided that some worlds were better left alone. Dr. Kim Hanna continued her work at the radio telescope, completely unaware of the cosmic significance of recent events. The official story was that Earth had experienced a series of military exercises coinciding with unusual solar activity. Most civilians had no idea that their planet had just fought and won humanity's first interstellar war. "Any interesting signals today?" asked Dr. Park Junho as he brought her morning coffee. "Nothing unusual," she replied, adjusting her equipment to scan deeper into space. "I'm still hoping we'll find evidence of extraterrestrial life someday. Wouldn't it be amazing? If we weren't alone in the universe." Junho smiled sadly, knowing that his security clearance had shown him glimpses of the truth. Yes, it would be amazing. In the depths of space, the surviving Zephyrian ships sent out their final transmission before entering hyperspace.
Out there.
A message would reach every corner of the galaxy within a standard year, ensuring that no other species would make the same mistake they had made. "We sought knowledge and awakened something that should have remained dormant." The Terrans sleep peacefully, protected by nightmares of their own creation. They have built a defense system so terrifying that the act of discovering it ensures their eternal isolation. Captain Shintaho received confirmation that the alien fleet had left the solar system. AEGIS began the process of returning Earth's infrastructure to its peaceful appearance. Weapons platforms retracted into their hiding places. Military spacecraft returned to their asteroid bases. The transformation happened so smoothly that most people assumed they had imagined the strange events of the past week. Phase 3 complete. AEGIS announced to its hidden network of operators. Isolation protocols now in effect. Earth's position as a quarantine zone has been established. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. Had made first contact so terrifying that no other species would ever want to try it again. The universe now knew that Earth was inhabited not by a typical developing civilization, but by a species that had turned their own fear of the unknown into the ultimate weapon. The irony was perfect. Humanity's greatest dream of meeting other intelligent life had been answered. But the encounter had been so successful that it guaranteed they would remain alone forever. Earth's children would continue to search the stars, never knowing that the universe had already found them and decided to stay far, far away